Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
So when you come out there and say Russia, Ukraine, it's disrespectful. It's like you have no respect for the people who killed and voted for you. And that is the point that we need to make. People risk joint queues at dawn, voted for you to become president. At least you have made all your family members very rich. The least you can do is to make the living conditions of the people who killed better. At least in their account they say, "With me, yes, Mawasia." Osedin attempt count. Osedin attempt count. With the things Ghanaians have done for Akufo-Addo, what we don't expect from him is to destroy our living conditions, and that point ought to be made clear. So this whole idea of always trying to globalize their incompetence by taking refuge with Russia, Ukraine, COVID-19 should not be encouraged. Ghanaians should forcefully reject that narrative.
I'm looking at the screen as Edudzie speaking, and his cheeks are very full. He doesn't look like he's suffering. I don't know, and he's so good. Meanwhile, the man is full. He's eating. He's fresh. He's getting jobs. You see, I don't get it. And in all his screaming, I haven't heard him deal with any one sector and tell us what the economy is. What is the economy, Edudzie? What is the economy?
I think you are.
And if you are interested. If you are interested in dealing,
you have just refused to listen.
Because
that's where the problem is.
I heard you. He's telling you what he heard. I heard you. And what I heard is what the public is listening to. And I'm sort of trying to summarize what I've heard to see whether the public agrees with me. Because
you were for Mamo Aquaba Ediba PENDREAM TV so Pacho. And now your first time we have subscribe to channel and found support. I don't manage to say that the video be to over first person now. Share now and there. Nkomo be a course between Freduah or NPP and Edudzie lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe NDC and I pese ye bo ekrem na good morning Ghana I around the abi show ni so no mpenfo me nu ikohia na ekoba ne se amonya na like omon ka bibi about Ghana economy no like omon ka the omon ka like omon kire kwan afa so a ye be duru ha ni kwan afa so bet me free bad economy ya wo ya amani amatoto apasan na we na na Freduah si ono pa de baby ofivo ne krasi oba ha ne de hu se Ghana ya wo ahohia mu na ohwa bibia ekoso totin ya wo Ghana kuro we mu na obi aka se hu se kuro ne ekoso bia no na se nipa no wo ono ana agenda ordinam na Freduah ekeka ne nsem wie ya no na lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe be se na Freduah pa Wuti Ghana hana nema tizia pansa ma CD dwane dollar no dwane 10 CD ya amakru ma head ndi dwane boy head yan to be to mo boru sika saa ma mo hu krakram koto mo krakram fa mo koton shim mo hu hwe ano ma bobu san yesi akra ban na twatwa dollars yi nyama ntutu betena hana waka kire se hwe bibie ekoso 13 wokro mu a aso ya panyin bia won ka no kure na nkomono ko ye gidigidi kakra but to say na a friendly match Edudzie Tamakloe chi ne tena ho ma oskuli ni pa trainer say on man point by point dey tell say the crew na jija na hwe ni ho a be ye biom Ghana crew this aban na yatugu na ekope aban foforo ebe sha na a ye competent or foresight na yenko ti the course between Nana Freduah and lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe. Good morning Ghana program this on power.
The details of the issues must be broken down for people to further understand. For example, I'm listening to the vetting and I'm listening to the new minority leader and he's asking questions, and when the answers come he's not able to deal with them because he asked the questions on basis of what I believe are untruths. Well, why is the economy in the state that it is in? I'm not an economist, one. I'm not a finance person, two. But I do understand that there are real things on the ground that, if carried through without certain external forces would not have us where we are. For example, this is a fact that the war in Ukraine has affected the world. It has affected the world. We are in that world. So things that have happened that have affected the world have affected us. For example, Ukraine is known for flour. Everybody knows that. They produce a certain percentage, 30% or something like that. Now, because of the war, the supply slumped. It took a UN initiative for them to be able to cut all of that flour out of there. In the time that that was happening, what happened to our bread? The prices jumped from 5 cedis to 12 cedis, 15 cedis. And that one too is our fault. The Kufuor sat in his office and closed his eyes and said, let's raise prices to 15 cedis. It's not true. It's not true.
Has it dropped?
No, it hasn't. Why? When we say that people took advantage, unnecessary advantage, people don't want to talk about that truth. You see, I have, Randy, you and I have known each other too long. You've run this program forever. We've grown on this matter. We must tell ourselves the truth if we want Ghana to be Ghana. You and I have lived here since we met each other. We haven't gone anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What has changed? That's true. It is a fact that people were taking advantage of their circumstances. Why would the dollar drop from 15 cedis to 9 cedis, 8 cedis, 7 cedis and change? Why? It's because people inflated the assumptions. And people exaggerated and like Edudzie was just doing, bad-mouthed everything. So others get scared and they go and rush and buy dollars and whatever. And meanwhile, the real weight of the money was not there. It's the same with the price of everything. Why is it that when I travel, and these days I've been getting involved in the foodstuffs industry, why is it that when I travel to, let me not even travel, Sakomono, Carlos Ayenkra, MP, followed the Ministry of Agriculture's initiative about selling and supported a farmer to open a small market in Sakomono. He sells plantain, a bunch, between 25 and 50 cedis, depending on the size. Go into the market and sold for 70, 80 cedis. So, who costs? Is it the Kufuor sitting at home and just say, allow prices to go? No. So it is for us as a party to constantly keep the public informed about the realities on the ground. I ask a question. If Ghana is so bad, and we like to compare ourselves to our neighbors, for example, and ask all kinds of questions, why is it that it is our neighbors who are migrating to Ghana to come and do business, as opposed to Ghanaians migrating out of Ghana to those neighboring countries? Forget about the Western world. That's a totally different ballgame. Why is that? If we're so terrible, if things are so bad, that people are coming here to come and want to stay and do business, as opposed to go stay in their countries? And why are Ghanaians not the ones moving like we used to move to Nigeria decades ago? Why? So let's be truthful and honest with what is going on. I think that the challenge to government, any government, is to see whether they could do even better than they're doing. That's the challenge. You don't get that from the opposition, whether it's NDC, CPP or whoever. You don't get that. That there should be a challenge for government to do better than it's doing, because what it's doing is extraordinary. I mean, if you read even today, there are some reports on President Kufuor's statements. He's talking about tomorrow and how we should be thinking and how we should gear things in that direction. You don't get that from the opposition. You don't get that about tomorrow's Ghana from the opposition. And that's what so as far as I'm concerned, I think that Mr. Anyagba has done a good job of putting us out there. We must constantly remind Ghanaians of, 1, what is being achieved, 2, what the dream and vision is, 3, what the opposition seeks to try to undermine. It's important, because it's easy for us to, all of us Ghanaians, to be flowery about life and think about only today and not think about tomorrow. It's very easy for us to do that, but we need to start thinking like that. And what does that mean? Adults who are the focus should be taking long-term views about policies and all of these things, about their personal lives and the collective life. And that's why, for me, it's It's a good job that they're doing. In fact, they should be breaking it down into parts. There should be people, the MPs and leaders in different sectors of the economy should be discussing the achievements for people to know what's going on. It's a serious matter. Real things are happening. We get caught up in the flowery stuff, the things that make noise, the things that are distractive, and we allow the NDC to ride on those things, and somehow we make it look like Ghana has no good news. There's a lot of good news. A lot of good news. It's about us taking up that good news and working with it. It's an opportunity for us. You know, to wrap up, I'm trying to remember who I heard saying this. There was talk about when we were in the 2020 situation with the COVID, lockdown and all of that, and there was a move by all Ghanaians to stay within Ghana. In other words, do and use Ghanaian things, buy Ghanaian products and all that. What we were supposed to do was stick with that. And if we stuck with that, and you look at the policies that Akufo-Addo and his government have put forward, you recognize that major opportunities have been given to Ghanaians. But if we close our eyes to those, or we don't recognize those, and we get caught up in wanting to import and buy things, then we get in trouble. Then we get in trouble. An analysis was done on fuel. I read it yesterday. I mean, why? If fuel should be about 13 cedis and you are selling it to us for 14 cedis, why? Why? I ask of Goyle, I ask of Total, I ask of Shell. I don't know if you heard about Shell's takings this year on a global scale. They made mega money, 40 billion or so and over, because they took advantage of us. Meanwhile, when you do the breakdown according...
That's unfair to them.
But it's true.
You can't speak about their global profitability and say that they took advantage of us as Ghana.
Why not?
I mean, if you go
I could include the rest of the world.
And if you go to the pumps, the price at the Shell pumps and the price at Goyle is not different.
That's why I mentioned the three of them.
Yeah, it's not different.
I can compare it to...
And the biggest shareholder, and therefore the biggest single shareholder, and therefore the biggest beneficiary of profits in Goyle is the government of Ghana.
Why do you think I'm saying it? I'm trying to tell you that saying fuel, go to goodness, go to Ben Oil, what's the other one? Why are their prices low?
But it's so in many parts of it. You have lived in Abuja.
It's so well.
Many parts of the world. When you lived in America, I'm sure that when you wake up in the morning,
you think that
you check whose gas prices are low and you go and buy there. Yeah, so the prices are not the same.
Good. And I'm saying that in the instance where we should be able to be aware, we should look at that. I've seen it and I'm saying it. What's your problem?
Yeah, my problem is that there appears to be a certain level of misplaced aggression in my view. Why do I say so?
From me?
No. Why do I say so? There is a regulator for this industry. Anytime the pricing mechanism is being worked on, the regulator is fully aware. So it is not as if these people just sit somewhere and they conjure prices. Any pricing that comes up has been seen by the regulator and approved by the regulator.
It doesn't mean that I shouldn't come back.
And the regulator is a state agency working on behalf of this country.
I don't see where your problem is, because I don't see where... I'm commenting on the fact that...
Yes.
The reality on the ground is that all kinds of prices are overblown, including fuel. And I'm saying that if I can buy fuel from Ben Oil or Goodness at, I buy diesel. Yesterday I bought it at 14.30. Why is somebody selling it for 14.99?
Well, at least you have a choice.
So I go there, and I'm telling them, and I'm arguing that we should be looking at those things to see how all of that is helping us. Yeah, I'm not speaking for just myself. I'm speaking that everybody who buys fuel would love to buy fuel at a lower price. It's not dictated by government. And so people say, the fuel prices have gone this and that and the other. The factors that come from government are clear. They are law.
They are what?
They are law, aren't they?
Apart from exchange rate.
They are law, right?
Apart from exchange rate.
Everything else is law.
Yes, everything else.
Yes. Yeah. So the reality is, on the ground, we need to fight for things that will stabilize our lives. And I'm arguing that fuel, for example, if it's lower, stabilizes our lives. And these companies are, in my opinion, from my analysis, they are taking advantage of us. But that's not my primary point. My primary point, because you asked the question about why are prices still high, is that in a very general scope, when you go to rural areas, and I argue that I've been going there recently, when you go to rural areas and you compare prices to, when I say rural, not the rural urban, like not the outside Accra, but
proper
Accra. Yes. Prices are nowhere near what we experience in Accra, and for no reason. For no reason. So that one, it cannot be Akufo-Addo and the government. It's not. And we should be truthful about ourselves on that matter. Fact.
But it's always, the situation that you paint has always been the same.
So then why aren't we dealing with that?
I'm saying that for all the times that we have said that times are hard,
Yes.
the situation you describe has been the same.
Yes. So why aren't we dealing with that?
How are you going to deal with that?
By talking about
Because there are
it,
reasons.
empowering. You see, because we don't talk about it and empower the agencies that are supposed to do, those agencies sit back and they think that's how life should be. And we also sit back and say, oh, it's always been like that. But that's not how it should work. We're always fighting against things, but we never fight for things. Why?
Yeah, but Nana,
Why?
my difficulty is that if what you speak about, for instance, let's even take food prices.
Right.
The situation that you describe is a situation that has been with us for years.
Yeah.
I'm sure that if I were coming from Kumasi and I saw plantain on the street around Chibi and I stopped, how much I'll buy 5 fingers of plantain will be different from when I get to Pokwasi or Fanko. Right. So these are issues that we have known forever. In the manifestos of political parties, you would see this situation described and you will see remedies in them. These parties get opportunity of coming into office, like we have a government now, a party which is in power. And after 6 years, in its 7th year, you have the same issue persisting. And we continue to lament about the problem.
But do we?
No, I'm saying like the discussion we're having now.
But I'm saying that I don't remember that we've made those things an issue. We talk about them, but do we make them an issue? That's why I made the comment about fighting against and fighting for.
Who should?
Us.
Because Nana, the point I'm making is that once you identify something as a problem, and you say that, look,
we have understood you.
Yes.
It seems like you haven't understood me. And I'm saying that it is if you've elected the government and the government in your mind is not doing anything about it, what are you doing about it? And that's when Akufo-Addo tells you, be a citizen and not a spectator. So fight for what should be right. Don't fight against all kinds of things.
So
yes, I'm saying
fighting for what is right.
Yes.
I don't want to hear. I would not want to hear something that sounds like an exoneration of Akufo-Addo.
Why?
Because if he led a party that promised to change a known situation, and that situation has not changed in his 7th year in office, it is fair to call him out.
But have you fought for anything?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Have you fought for anything?
No, I'm just saying that it is a promise made. So it is fair to call him out. And it is for him to explain. When I say him, I don't mean just the person. It's for him to explain how come he said this was an issue, he was going to resolve it. In the 7th year, it has not been resolved.
And this is what I argue for you. I'm saying you're still doing the fighting against as opposed to fighting for. He comes in, let's talk food. He puts out a policy, planting for food and jobs. They push hard to make that policy work as well as it should. In that process, technically, in economics, as far as I remember, when there's a lot of supply, prices should go down. Why is it that when there's a lot of supply, prices
A lot of supply where?
Because
there's a value chain.
From the farm gate.
No, there's a value chain.
Good. So along that value chain,
yes.
Why is it that when it gets to my table in Accra,
yes,
it's so expensive, and yet in my table in Chibi is not? Why? And is that one in fighting? You see, when you are fighting against in that one, I'll sit at my table in Accra and say, oh, Akufo-Addo has made this thing go up. But I'm saying, instead of fighting, because it's clearly not Akufo-Addo, we should be fighting for prices to go down. We should be telling the market managers and giving the heat there that, look, we know this has happened, so we expect this to happen. So why are you making this price so high?
No, Nana.
Well, that's how I see it.
When a government wants to solve a problem,
that's how I see it.
You put in strategies and you have expected outcomes.
Yes.
So you don't say that, as for me, I have put in the strategy. Once I don't get the expected outcome, I've done my job.
No.
Nobody has.
Yeah, but nobody has said that. Nobody has said
because
that.
If you say
nobody has said that.
If you say that the objective is to have abundance, which will then reflect in pricing. So you have put in place a strategy.
Yeah.
And as far as you're concerned, the strategy is the best. It's good enough. And yet, the expected outcome is not happened.
Randy, I don't know what
there must be something.
No, I don't know what you're looking for, but here's what I'm thinking, and this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a situation where I know when government is responsible for something and when the citizen is responsible for something.
Yes.
I'm arguing that there's a portion where the citizen is responsible for something and we're not taking it up. That's what I'm arguing.
Like,
why are prices so high? And why are we not fighting it?
What should a citizen do?
The citizen should be talking. If you're spending less time in the sun, in fumes and all, these are real things. That's where the discussions should go. That's what I'm arguing for. I'm saying, in the very big picture, as far as I'm concerned, it's good that the NPP speaks. It's good that the NPP continuously alerts the public about what we're achieving. It's important that, and we don't do enough of that, it's important that we help the public understand where these policies are geared towards in their lives.
Right.
That's what I want.
Okay. How do you?
And to make sure the NDC doesn't win.
Freduah and I continue. Freduah say, "Onu party, say Ghana ha party until say Odugo bi no abe. O say ono problems are come wo Ghana amafo sun ni na wan nyina say like ono party until hwe. O say kro no ye de aduane wo krom aduane bo fu bibia kama perfect wo kro no na menim so person twitwi Ghana fo say agro na wona ni so too much o say washada na person de Ghana fo adwin di agro kroma e din say na otimi betena o ka kire say kromo no e din a yate na we na okasa wie no okase NPP fo no nyama mo ye na say Ghana fo nya ho o say nyama mo ye na Ghana ni fo nyina ye ni fra asa ye hu adwuma NPP fo na ye na odi NPP fo so ya pa say adwuma omo ye no like asa omo cheche mu media ni nti asa manfo hyeda adwuma na NPP fo ne ye nti o say NPP fo no mo adwuma on there ropa na okasa wie ya na lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe ono lawyer kese pa Ghana ha owo NDC amanyoko no ono so de ni cheche mu the state of Ghana's economy edu to ho na min kasa bebre no me de ukọ na wakoti nsema lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe okan di banta nsema na Freduah ebe kan ya ni yenkoti lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe na
So Randy, yet again my brother Richard Ahiagba decided to waste the ears of Ghanaians.
The NPP was only speaking on behalf of his party.
No, that's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
That at this critical moment, what Ghanaians expect from our friends in the NPP is a certain sober posturing and not the kind of arrogance that my brother Richard Ahiagba decided to parrot yesterday. Look, at this critical moment in our forward march as a people, what we do not want is a situation where a group of people have messed up a country. The country is in ruins, and the people who are supposed to take responsibility for it are blaming Russia, Ukraine for the mess that their policy mix had created for this country. This morning, I'm listening to my senior brother say that, oh, there's good news. And so we should applaud the good news. And Randy, so a moment I am asking, how does destroying an economy become good news? How does inflicting poverty on our people become good news? Randy, how does raising petrol from 13 Ghana cedis or 14 Ghana cedis to now that we are buying petrol a gallon for over 54? How is that good news? How does buying $1 for 13 Ghana cedis good news when it used to be 4 cedis? How is that good news? How does moving your debt to GDP ratio from 56% to 103 within 6 years good news? Nana, it appears you guys are living in a different, world altogether.
Edudzie, reading, I didn't get to listen or watch, but reading it, the impression I get is that, your intro,
Yes,
is exactly the reason why the NPP, led by its comms director, would hold this presser. Because you create the impression as if nothing has happened in this world.
what has happened?
That's all. Nothing has happened in this world. Nothing is happening in this world. I.e., Russia, Ukraine, and COVID. And you're creating the impression as if pre-2020 situation is what exists.
You see, Randy, I recall vividly, and in answer to the questions or your probe, if you recall, when we were in power and there were external issues or external factors, we have always said that our economy has a lot of dependency issues, right? And so I recall when we raised issues in the past, and I recall in 2014, after the Honorable Setekwe had presented the budget, crude oil prices immediately fell. And the conversation then was that it was going to affect overall, revenue to government. I recall Dr. Mahmoud Bamia did a presser and said, is Setekwe and John Mahama claiming that all these global factors left Ivory Coast and came to only Ghana? Those were the words of Dr. Mahmoud Bamia.
But you disagreed with him.
No, because we did so because, for instance, you can easily verify. If you go to Parliament and present your budget and say that you're going to sell, say, the crude oil that you are producing for $65 per barrel, and within a twinkle of an eye, it moves to 30, it means that you're going to lose about a certain amount of money.
No, that's not in doubt.
But today, I am saying that today, if you situate even the conversation, had crude oil prices fallen, even in the midst of Russia, Ukraine, have we stopped our oil production? No. We are making windfall, even in terms of all these global challenges that are happening.
The argument is that the global challenges of COVID affected the global supply chain. Things went up, prices went up. It affected revenues. It affected productivity. A lot of people had to sit on. We couldn't work. We couldn't do a lot. Revenues at the ports dropped.
Randy, 2022, Russia-Ukraine war started in February 22nd.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Just a few weeks ago, GRA posted that they have exceeded their revenue targets for the year 2022, correct?
Correct.
So what exactly is the issue? What exactly is the issue? Because even from GRA perspective, and remember that
could be a revenue angle, but on the issue of a cost of living angle,
no, but
if you relied on Ukraine for flour and you have those supply chain challenges, obviously in the era of scarcity, prices will go up.
No. If you look at the fact that, Randy, as we speak, in 2020, the major reason for the escalating prices of commodities in Ghana had to do with the exchange rate differentials. And you notice that the reason for the depreciation of the cedi had very little to do with the Russia-Ukraine war. In fact, the point ought to be made that this is a government that consistently was borrowing $2 billion annually to create an artificial stability for the cedi, right? Then in 2022, around February, January, the credit rating agencies downgraded us. And so for the first time, we could not get access to the Eurobond market. And that is where the problem with the cedi started. What had that got to do with Russia, Ukraine? Nothing. It's about your policy choices. And let the point ought to be made that, look, this incompetent bunch of people had the benefit in the past to even subscribe to the IMF World Bank program, that's the debt service suspension initiative, the DSSI. But they decided that they would not do that.
I thought they said that one of the things I learned from yesterday's presser was that the economy had not deteriorated that much.
I mean, it's the most shameful commentary by any political propagandists that we needed to have the economy deteriorate to the point before we go to an IMF for a bailout. I always use this particular scenario. Randy, if monthly you do your monthly checkup, or maybe by whatever checkup, you have the benefit that, if you go to the hospital, you may come back home safe and strong. But if you wait to the point where you now need an ambulance to evacuate you to the hospital, the possibility of coming back home immediately becomes remote. You had the opportunity of doing an IMF program first quarter of 2021, but because of arrogance, you decided that you not do an IMF program. And you kept saying, we are a proud people, we are this, we are this. We kept telling you, and I remember when H. John Dramani Mahama did the Ghana at the Crossroad program, he listed a lot of issues that he believed that this government should tackle, so we don't get to this point. What was the response from our friends in NPP? Once again, they came and rubbished it. Now today you have the director communication of NPP saying that the reason why they didn't go to the IMF much earlier is that they were waiting for the economy to get to this terrible state. So now we have to go to the IMF in an ambulance. Today, the whole Ghanaian economy is an intensive care unit. How did you run an economy to this point? I'm not surprised at all why today, even within the NPP, there is a spirited attempt to isolate Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia from the economic mess. At least what it means is that today our friends in the NPP begin to recognize that the economy they inherited from H. John Dramani Mahama is not what they are living. Akufo-Addo's legacy today, for which he will be remembered for forever, is that he had destroyed the Ghanaian economy. No president under the Fourth Republic had forced Ghanaians to even accept a debt exchange program. No president. That is going to be his scorecard. If Akufo-Addo is your child and you've taken him to school, the terminal report that he's presenting to you today is domestic debt exchange program. And what is even more curious is that, Randy, and you remember that statement by Dr. Bawumia anytime he used to speak in opposition, that the NDC had an overall financial envelope of 248 billion and that there is nothing to show for it. You remember? And that he believed that with 48 billion Ghana cedis, we could build 1,000 factories, we could do this number of roads. Today, as we speak, the Akufo-Addo administration is not having 248 billion in 6 years or 7 years. This government had record amount of 560 billion only in 6 years. You've gotten more financial resources than all administrations since 1992. And your scorecard is domestic debt exchange program. So curiously today, you notice that Bawumia is no longer talking about the economy. Friends of Bawumia are telling us today that Bawumia, as the chair of the economic management team, is not even responsible. And that the person who is responsible for the mess in the economy is Allen, because he was the chair of a cabinet subcommittee called the Economic Something Committee. How did we get here? How come that suddenly the NPP poster boy on the economy, the whiskey on economic issues, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is no longer being projected as the one who had caused the problem with the economy? So it is the lack of candor, the lack of sincerity from our friends in the NPP. That is what will embolden someone like my brother Richard Ahiagba to look Ghanaians in the face and tell her this kind of stories. But you see, Randy, I am not surprised, and I've always maintained this. In any serious political conversation, our friends in the NPP should not even have the courage to talk.
Why?
Having run the economy aground, Randy, I mean, and I know you. You are self-respecting. You respect yourself.
They make the point that their pre-COVID record is far better than your record.
Randy.
And that's the comparison that must be made.
Randy, what is this pre-COVID record? First of all, the NDC had gone to an IMF program in 2014. By this IMF program, we were, due for almost 900 million. By the time we left office, only 300 million of that money came to us, correct?
Yes.
The bulk of the money, amounting to over $600 million, came to you. And so for the entire period, the so-called pre-COVID era they talked about, they were under an IMF program. Look, by the time they came to power, they had inherited over $250 million from H.E. John Dramani Mahama by reason of the sinking fund, among other funds. ESLA was there available for them. So what exactly are they talking about? How innovative have they been beyond the annual borrowing of $2 billion every year for the purposes of creating artificial strength for the city? So what exactly is the innovation are they talking about? What exactly? The only time that they were not under an IMF program was when COVID came. Even there, they went for $2 billion.
For most parts of 2019, they were not on an IMF program.
No, which part? Look,
from May.
Say from
May 2019
to 2020, then COVID came.
Yes.
What exactly were they doing? In policy formulation, there's something called policy lags. If you start with the policy now, the policy effect and others may even take some time, 2 years, 3 years before. So what exactly? By 2016 December, the IMF World Bank had already projected that looking at the investment by H.E. John Dramani Mahama in the economy, the real impact will be post-2016. So you are basically a beneficiary of the huge heavy lifting done by H.E. John Dramani Mahama. The only time that we started seeing the real impact of Akufo-Addo's work is economic ruin. So what kind of people are these? And you have a situation where Richard Anyagba, purporting to speak on behalf of the NPP.
No, he was speaking on behalf of
Okay.
He wasn't purporting.
Okay. We look, Randy.
No, he was speaking on behalf
Let's say
of
you were speaking. No, because
Not let's say, that's a fact.
I do not think that the current state of the NPP would even encourage them to look.
It's an official program. He's a director of comms. He's speaking on behalf of the party.
I'm not in doubt, doubting that. The only point is that I cannot for a minute believe that a political party that had destroyed the economy this terribly bad, would have the courage to look Ghanaians in the face and try to posture that they are better managers of the economy. Better managers of what exactly? Better managers of destroying the livelihoods of people? Better managers of increasing the inflation to the highest since 1994. So what exactly are you better managers of? You took over a very beautiful, vibrant economy. You have destroyed it. Today, our finance minister is on the way to China to go and beg the Chinese to restructure our debts. How did we get here? How did we get here? Today, our finance minister had basically forced on pensioners, pension fund holders and managers a domestic debt exchange program. And you say you are a better manager? I mean, this should never be tolerated. And Randy, let me make the point clear. That look, if our friends in the NPP have any respect for Ghanaians, they will not be talking the manner in which they are doing.
Why?
No, Randy, with all the hope in Akufo-Addo, he created that messianic thing about himself, the savior of Ghana, the Osajefo of Ghana. Today, you have destroyed life.
If there are issues,
you have destroyed jobs.
Are you saying that if there are issues, that explains why the government has been unable to do some of the things that he had wanted to do? It shouldn't explain them.
What explanation? when you listen to Richard
Is it not
Anyagba,
because you've just decided that you
no,
want
I listened to Richard Anyagba,
Yes.
and I gave you classic example here that nowhere in the conversation is he even talking about their own policy choices that have brought us here. Was it Russia, Ukraine that encouraged the government to be doing the $2 billion annually? Was it Russia, Ukraine? Randy, if annually you are doing $2 billion to show up your reserves, and suddenly you do not have that $2 billion because you have been downgraded, how is that the problem of COVID-19? How is that the problem of Russia, Ukraine? It cannot be. So when you come out there and say Russia, Ukraine, it's disrespectful. It's like you have no respect for the people who queued and voted for you. And that is the point that we need to make. People risk join queues at dawn, voted for you to become president. At least you have made all your family members very rich. The least you can do is to make the living conditions of the people who queued better. At least in their account they say, "Won't me yes shema wasia." Osedin attempt count. Osedin attempt count. With the things Ghanaians have done for Akufo-Addo, what we don't expect from him is to destroy our living conditions, and that point ought to be made clear. So this whole idea of always trying to globalize their incompetence by taking refuge with Russia, Ukraine, COVID-19 should not be encouraged. Ghanaians should forcefully reject that narrative.
Yeah, no.
I'm looking at the screen as Edudzie speaking, and his cheeks are very full. He doesn't look like he's suffering. I don't know, and he's so good. Meanwhile, the man is full. He's eating. He's fresh. He's getting jobs. You see, I don't get it. And in all his screaming, I haven't heard him deal with any one sector and tell us what the economy is. What is the economy, Edudzie? What is the economy?
I think you are.
And if you are interested. If you are interested in dealing,
you have just refused to listen.
because
And that's where the problem is.
I heard you. He's telling you what he heard.
I heard you. And what I heard is what the public is listening to. And I'm sort of trying to summarize what I've heard to see whether the public agrees with me. Because
for a year, Nana Freduah, any lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe, and a Hotio Munkano. Now, what didn't you who any say now? Because person who I didn't because I said Corona a woman. A year painful be a NPP. Ha ya taught you say, Omoye painful me and him before Nancy Mashada and I say, I dream once. And after doing any packet row, Kufa Bemono, one of the big person at home. Nancy to share Katie Amon, then times a month was you, Katie Amon, on the my dear lawyer opinion in that, but Nancy, any now Tracia, but Yamabia, why ye ya. With Monza, we on Shada and your penny beer, now dream Shada Dosa. Oh, yeah, and I said, oh, so your jokes. Say, I said, no more who the moon can't. No much that the assembly year jokes. I said, they are a grubby woman, you know. Oh, she and enough Freduah to her. In some of Canyon, I grown qua. So, to make us Carlos Ainkra. Or no, a show bidra. I'm a nipano, to me talk. Brodier, sinin full brodier no. Brother full one, what me can say, the beer in no, what me can say, Ripano to me ton 20 cities. In the Ghana crew. Tell it, body full, brother, what me can say, 30 cities. Tell it, I thought I had the radio, so I TV, so I am fairly dear man or more tea in the cacra. I said, I'm fairly dear man or more listeners at your like bar. Your pa no be kasa no ko so na krom we mo ade ugusu ka kire se na ma Akufo-Addo ye no mo mbo hundero why na pe propaganda tin NPP aban we NPP aban we pe propaganda no anko no wa ye bi papa bi wo Ghana anko mbo hundero ye na yo se ye be force mo ansa mo tun abo hundero mo commission toilet kra mo ma ye ntika mo ya sun tika sa okro we Oh, sometimes no, you're paying for no mudi agri dia grow. Who problems are Ghana woman pa. Na na Freduah. Obetena si o Metro TV a. Ode ade ni yasre sem ni na na me de say lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe. Ade ni to ni place or like although oil said the ode agro no, o mani hu say no, nyama o kika na fa kwan. Asa kroma edin o. Kroma edin papa. Ne yes we share the Edudzie Tamakloe kan ya Minister of Finance or faka oko China only China for oko kasa se ye ka edi omo no opa omo pacho ye Ghana pacho omo fanche yitumi ntua wo ko pacho se wo ka odi no ntumi ntua wo kusa ka chem se economy economy ni ye papa anga wo ka no ntumi ntua na chopa na oko pa na fanche toda penifo bi e wo kuro we mu no mo kasa amon kasa te se penifo na enidia omo se fata se edi mo no edi mo ko we penny na betna national television so na ube tutu papa efra na se woni hwe kan eno an se Randy me ne hwe kan o nti esa na be ne dem for mo be from bra no be hye manan sa na ya de so woni so woni on top of issues edu time bi crowd tina na Freduah na ho na Freduah ti o se we in the party no as party no asem na wa kan fa MTP free NPP for and na free government ho no no na e kan adwin afide kan wa adwin ma yenti a o se ai ono ne politics na o ye no nti no de nti on ba kra ni some person be kan economics papa but village economics o konkra na sia na ko transport microphone wo village wa hwe ni pa bi sia who take solace in the fact say who to me kwa classic or mama phone papa mrewa ya work classic who to me ko travel na when you are boasting about it. Is this something to boast about? Sometimes no doing never be say man say ya ko cassette ya penny bi no say nkwala aba mwadi na bi but okay we hwese na Ghana for bre mayo e wokru emu nya adwuma nye sisi dodo na ada ne hook for nema no so nya adwuma nye kro no na mo na so tin betina o ka say na me koso wokru wa create employment o ta ku for that create employment be no nka na amanfo enim say enwuma no obi ye no oma de show mo mpa si dia na dis na me nko na betina kire therefore the OT my who are doing to the media mo besia aha PENDREAM TV patcho so oba for sabo adomani so na subscribe to channel no na so there be time be the video be able to no be first person obe hwe don't want for your support so the video be to there be amhwe man na me share mo na
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Because person who are doing because I said corona ya woman no mpanyimfo bi e wo NPP nim ha ya tawte o se omo ye mpanyimfo omo ye nimdifo na se ma sheda atena se adwen ho ase na Freduah anya ni paketwa o kufu abem no ye one of the big person a wom na se so hwe Ketiamon den times na manfo se o Ketiamon oni made o lawyer penyini na but na se enyina atena se a be hu nyama bi a waye ya otumo se we on sheda anya panyin bi a na adwen mu sheda dosa o ya na se the person o jokes say asem no mu hu de mu nka na mo sheda de asem ni ye jokes asa de agro bi wo woni so no o hwe na Freduah ti ho a nsem mo kan nyina agro nko a se wo tumi ka se Carlos Ainkra no wako show bi dwa ama nipa no etumi to brodie sini no full brodie no brodie full one utumi ka se ne dua ni nyina no utumi ka se nipa no tumi ton no 20 cedis we ne Ghana kro wi tele brodie full brodie utumi ka se ton no 30 cedis Tell it to that it radio so it TV so I am fairly dear ma or more tea in the kakra. I said, won't fairly deep ma or more listeners at your like bar, your pa no Becky Casa no co. So na krom we mo ayɛ den wobu so ka kyerɛ sɛ nneɛma akufo ado yɛ no ɔmo mbɔ ho dero wɔn na ɛpɛ propaganda sɛ NPP aban we NPP aban we pɛ propaganda no anka ɔno wayɛ bi papa bi wɔ Ghana ha anka ɔmbɔ ho dero yɛn na ɛwɔ sɛ yɛbɛ force mo ansa mo atumi abɔ ho dero mo a mo commission toilet koraa mo ma yɛ so nti kasa wɔ kuro we oh sometimes no yɛn mpanyinfoɔ no mo de adwe di agorɔ dodo wohwɛ problems a Ghana wɔ mu paa ɛyɛ nana Freduah ɔbɛtena se wɔ Metro TV a ɔde ade ne yɛ seresɛm ne nneɛma na ɛyɛ me dɛ sɛ ɛyɛ lawyer Edudzie Tamakloe ɛde ne to ne place of like although ɔyɛ sɛ deɛ ɔde agorɔ no ɔma ne hu sɛ no nneɛma a ɔkeka no ɛmfa kwan mu asa kurom ayɛ den o kurom ayɛ den papapapapapapa a ɛnɛ yɛsi wohwɛ deɛ Edudzie Tamakloe kan yɛ a Minister of Finance ɔfaka a ɔkɔ ɛyɛ China ɔne China for ɔkɔ kasa sɛ yɛka a yɛdi ɔmo no ɔpa ɔmo patwɔ a yɛ Ghana patwɔ a ɔmo fa nkyɛn yɛn yɛntumi ntua wo kɔ patwɔ o sɛ wo ka a wode no ntumi ntua wo kusa wo ka kyerɛ me sɛ wɔ economy no economy ni yɛ papa anka wo ka no ntumi ntua ɛna akyɛw pa na akɔpa na ɛmfa nkyɛw ɛtɔ da mpanyinfoɔ bi ɛwɔ kuro wei mu na ɔmo kasa ɔmo nkasa te sɛ mpanyinfoɔ na enidi a ɔmo sɛ fata sɛ yɛde ma ɔmo no yɛde ma ɔmo kɔ woyɛ panyin na bɛtena national television so na wobɛtutu papa ɛfrɛ wo na sɛ wonni hwee ka ɛno ara ne sɛ o Randy menni hwee ka o nti ɛsɛ a na ɛbɛyɛ ne dɛm from ɔmo foforɔ mbra na ɔmbɛhyɛ manan saa na ɛyɛ adeɛ sɛ wonim sɛ wonni on top of issues a ɛdu time bi koraa wotie Nana Freduah na ɛho Nana Freduah ɔte hɔ sɛ wei nyɛ party no as party no asɛm na waka mfa MTP free NPP for hɔ ɛna ɛmfiri government hɔ na ɔno ara na ɛka na adwene afei deɛ ka wadwene ma yɛnti a ɔse ɔno ne politics na ɔyɛ no nti no deɛ nti ɔmba akra ne sɛ ɔmpɛ sɛ ɔbɛka economics papa ba ɔpɛ village economics ɔkɔ nkora no ase a na kɔtwa ntorɔkyerɛ nkurɔfoɔ no wɔ village hɔ a waa wohwɛ nipa bi si a who take solace in the fact sɛ wotumi kɔ nkura se kɔtwa maamefoɔ ne papa mmerɛ hɔ a ɛwɔ kura se wotumi kɔtwa wo ntorɔ ɛna w'ani agye you are boasting about it. Is this something to boast about? Sometimes no doing nneɛma bi sɛ wonte ase manhwɛ yi a wakɔ kasa tia panin bi na ase nkwalaa aba mmoa deɛ ana bi but okay wohwɛ sɛ na Ghanafoɔ brɛ mmaayewa a ɛwɔ kuro yi mu nyɛ adwuma nyɛ sisi a dodoɔ no ada ne hookapfoɔ mmarima no nso nyɛ adwuma nyɛ korɔ no na ɔmo bɔ na sɛ wotumi bɛtena hɔ ka sɛ nneɛma ɛkɔ so wɔ kuro mu wakreate employment ɔte akufo ada create employment bebree na ɔno na ɔnka na amanfoɔ ɛnim sɛ nnwuma no obi yɛ no ɔmo ara de hyɛ ɔmo mpa ase deɛ a ɛna de sɛ nyame nko ara na ɛbɛtumi akyerɛ yɛn tiefoɔ deɛ ɔte yɛ ma yɛn ho ɔdwen kyerɛ me deɛ mede mo bɛsi a aha ɛyɛ PENDREAM TV mpakyɛw sɛ ɔba a fa wo nsa bɔ adoma ne so na subscribe to channel no na sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ a time bi a yɛde video bi abɛto hɔ no wobɛyɛ first person a wobɛhwɛ yɛda mo ase for your support sɛ yɛde video bi ato a da bi a mohwɛ ma a nyame nhyira mo nyinaa.